How do you work out that nobody cared?
Hey, this is the Antisocial Socialite back at it again. Shout out to everybody who is tuning in, all of you wonderful new subscribers and returning friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new to the channel, you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for, darling? Hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, so when I get to running this mouth, baby, you are in the loop. You see the title, you know what time it is. I was going to respond to a couple of comments. There's only one that I was actually going to respond to. I read them again, and I'm not going to put the person on blast, actually. Maybe they don't want their comment to be seen, so I will respect that. But yesterday we were talking about this gentleman who was complaining that Kevin Samuels is allegedly dangerous for the black community, all right? So this person responded under that video, men actually don't cook and clean at the same rates studies say, lol. Women are still doing all traditional roles, plus the new masculine roles on time. The benefit of marriage is for the woman to protect herself and her children. These girls and these free hookups are silly, shooting themselves in the foot. I was out and about and I saw this notification, but it was on the phone. My battery died. And yeah, I only started to read it. There was another one about crystalline kerosene. I think that's the one that made me want to come online. Men actually don't cook and clean at the same rate. I don't know because I haven't checked the studies, but if you're dealing with a grown adult man, I don't want to show the person's name. That's the thing. Let me see if I can really hide their identity. Hopefully. I got everything. It's good. Yeah, I remember when we were going to have the first lockdown and I'm frantically running around trying to um grab bits and pieces everywhere to make sure you stock up. It really wasn't that bad. Being snowed in is a little bit different. Yeah, hopefully divulging all my, let me see, should be able to read that. Okay, so it says here, no, as you can read, right? Now, nobody said that men and women necessarily cook and clean to the same rate. But if you're dealing with an adult man, by now I'm pretty sure he can rustle up something to eat. The prospect of him being a grown man waiting for a woman to come and cook and clean for him is just preposterous. It doesn't matter if he can only cook a handful of things. I think most people can only cook about 10 things. Most people are not connoisseur chefs out here or whatever. Yeah, men can cook, clean, do everything that they need adequately enough. And because men tend to go into the jobs that pay very well, they don't necessarily need women to come in and to marry because they can just pay for any service they need. They have the funds to buy their own food if they can't cook. They can pay for a housekeeper. They really don't need to enter into a legally binding contract just to get a hot plate of food and their laundry done. Okay. Now, if you're in a committed relationship, I would expect that if the man is making money or going out to work every day, even if a man and a woman equally go to work, I would imagine that the kind of jobs men do are more stressful and more dangerous than the kind of jobs that women do on average. And so I would, with all due respect, say that the man has had a harder day. And if the man has gone to work, then the woman cooking and cleaning is not necessarily a huge task. I don't want to play it down because obviously some people feel differently about that, but I don't want to be out here like, oh, you got to be chained to the stove. But that's all a woman's good for. That's her place kind of thing. But in terms of balance, how much people have been busy that day, I would imagine that the woman has been not necessarily has had such a dangerous day as the man has had, or strenuous day. And so for that reason, if the tradition was men provide and women nurture and nest, if the woman is taking on a masculine role which is working, it's because she chose to work. Or it sounds harsh. I don't know. Certain things you don't want to say because it comes off as misogynistic or sexist, even when you're a woman saying it. But it's like, if you are the one who goes out to work, maybe you have to downsize, maybe you have to cut back in order to be able to be a lady of leisure and stay at home. Like I said, there's a difference between a quality of life versus a lifestyle. And I think some people want the lifestyle and they can't afford it. That's why they're like, I still have to go to work, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, is your quality of life remaining the same or is it suffering? So no one asked women to take on the masculine role. Again, if women were creating productive men at a younger age, they wouldn't have to, because they would have men who were working. I mean, one of the reasons why women can't get high pay is, why men, sorry, can't get high pay is because there's too many employees. The job market is flooded with employees because you've got women working, and they're not going to create more jobs and give everybody the same pay. They're going to keep the jobs the same and cut them into bits. So everybody gets paid less, which means it's harder to live on one income. That's why women have to work now. It's not because of this or that. It's because for the employer, it doesn't make sense to pay high rates of pay because he's got a lot of choice when it comes to employees. So a lot of women, they use that we have to go to work, blah, blah, blah. You don't really have to go. You wouldn't have had to go to work if your predecessors, your ladies before you, hadn't made a big deal about wanting the jobs. Had you just stayed in the role and done your little cash in hand or your little, side hustle or whatever it was, community-based projects, yada, yada, your husband would be making probably enough money. Or, I don't know, maybe not. But you would have probably men earning more because it's understood they earn to provide for a family. The benefit of marriage is for the woman to protect herself and her children. I don't wholly disagree with that because I would say sometimes women do get more out of it than the man does if the woman is not an asset to his life and cooperative. So, yeah, I can almost agree with that. But then the question has to be, what are women doing to make them marriageable? It's not a case of I'm going to pick a husband off the shelf at the shop. You're actually trying to be desired and an asset to his life. That's the mutually beneficial aspect of marriage. You're enriching each other's lives. You're serving each other. You're caring for each other. And his role is protect, provide, lead. Yours is follow, nurture, nest. So both people benefit in a good marriage in different ways because men and women bring different things to the table. And obviously protect herself. Well, it should be their children, not her children. And protect the children and also help them to be productive and functional adults. Or everybody has masculine and feminine energy, but daughters are going to emulate their mother, sons should emulate their father. And so when you don't have two parents in the home, there's certain things about relationships that the children just don't learn. And then these girls and these free hookups are silly, shooting themselves in the foot. Agreed. I can't remember. So the other one was about Chrysaline, one of my favorite people. And this was under the video about Kevin Samuels. And this person's been busy, huh? Where's the scroll? I don't understand why is this thing like this? I just got this laptop. I need to change it, man. This thing's not really working out. Oh, here we go. Hide the person's identity. Because I'm kind like that. Hey, Brown Bird, what's good, man? Damn, you was on some panel the other day, bruv, and you was going in. I was like, if I had a hat, I would have taken it off to you, sir. I know, sickly, downsize, god damn it, get an RV. The new cuss word that starts with an S is I can't say it. It's too disgusting. So this says, it's not a black female echo chamber talking about the ladies that we love to love. Chrysaline is giving what? Chrysaline is the one giving black women a different perspective. This shows you know nothing about her or what she talks about. She mostly agrees with Kevin, except how harsh she is to women, which is understandable. So I think this is the one that I wanted to talk about. Oh, computer doing some spazzing out. Um, First and foremost, let me disagree with you. The women who make content, your Chrysaline's, your Chrissy's, your Paris's, it is a humongous echo chamber. You have three camps, and all three camps are under the "we hate black men" stroke woman first movement. Now you've got the interracial daters, and you've got just the women firstists. That's like your colorism criers and things like this. Then you've got the swirl camp. That is, you know, we got to extol the virtues of other races of men while simultaneously, highlighting all of the exaggerated flaws about black men as if these flaws are unique to black men group. And then you've got the divestment crew, which is a straight up hate group. I'm going to say it, I've said it before. They're overt with their contempt for black men, from the way they talk about black men to the way that they talk when they see black men online, to the assumptions they make about black men, that they're defeated, that they're conquered, right up to, we need to leave Blackistan, stop giving birth to your oppressor, stop giving birth to your enemy. Some will just come right out and say that you just need to abort black boys and, genetically select for black female children. And then you've got, some of them just say, like, it doesn't matter, as long as it's a black male, he's trash. Remember, we watched the video, the black Y gene is trash. And it doesn't matter who that black man is, from he's a black male, he's dusty. Okay, so the divestment crew is a straight up hate group, a misandrist hate group. Okay, it doesn't matter who you are or how good you are, as long as you're not kissing the behind of the black woman, they are literally hating on you. The only good thing about the divestment group is this: they actually don't like men or women, arguably at all, but anybody who's not in their group, male or female, they will chuck them out. Swirlers and the other groups, they try to be like all encompassing, and that's why they always end up in a lot of problems. So yes, those women are a huge echo chamber. They cover the same stories, they exaggerate the same points, they're whining about the same issues, being too brown. Why do you talk about weight, attitude, and weave? Why are you always bashing single mothers and black men that like exoticals? That's it. Apart any topic that one covers, the others are covering the same thing. Apart from that, there isn't really much going on in there. Now it says Chrysaline is the one giving black women a different perspective. What perspective are you talking about? Because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, honestly thought, what's good, man? V-Dub Boogie, salute to you, fam. The divestment people don't like each other. The whole group is a mess. They're a group of messy females. A hate group against black children, yeah, probably, because they don't mind aborting black boys. I wouldn't say all, but some. All right. But if you notice in these groups, there's no conversation about parenting, motherhood. Chrysaline might have been the closest one to bring that point across. I was talking about this with somebody earlier about, but they'll team up from time to time. They have no qualms about it. Well, they have, the thing about it is this: the divestment people have an issue with the other groups of black people, because they're saying, if you are not fully divested, meaning any woman who's a mammy, any woman who's deemed a pick-me, also is not part of the sisterhood. That's the only thing. As much as it's a hate group, I respect them for that, because I think too many black people want to carry everybody with them, even when those people don't want to be carried. So on principle of, if you can't be on the program with us, we're going to have to leave you behind, man, woman, child, or beast. That principle I can respect. But the fact that they're like, you're not truly divested because you still care about black men, now that's a bit of an issue. Because if you're a black woman, I'm sure some of you have black sons, you have black, fathers and male relatives or friends and colleagues. So how can you be fully divested? As a black person, that's the first thing people see about you when you leave the community. So how can you be fully divested? So they're like, oh, we don't really support swirlers because swirlers still care. That's why you guys talk about black men, because you still care. So that's why I say they don't really like all women. They don't really have a sisterhood. And that's why I say that they're a hate group. Anybody out here talking about I'm divested, that person is part of a hate group. They're all trying to see who can disparage black men the most. I mean, that's the only thing that unites them, other than their hatred for black men and how everything is the black man's fault. They literally have nothing else to talk about. Because as we've laughed and joked before, you've got people talking about we need to promote dark skin, trying to link up with people who have mixed race kids. You have people who are talking about the people of no color, trying to link up with somebody who's got a white husband. There's no consistency, because the goal is not really to edify black women. The goal is just to put down black men. And they do it in a variety of different ways. Some are trying to be, psychologizing dusties. Others are talking about swirling. Others are talking about dark skin promotion. But the underlying current is always, at some point, it's the black man's fault and we've got to blame him for everything. Yeah, it's probably asking like, why didn't you have a termination when you knew it was a boy or something? They're just out here, they're straight up hating. If you see a comment like that, tag me, because I had a video. I might just have to upload it as a piece of audio instead and just no video because I can't be bothered. But I remember years ago seeing comments like that where people were literally just coming out and saying, just don't have black sons. And as I've said in the past, that's such a ridiculous statement if you're already complaining about a 2 million deficit. There's certain things that I don't understand how people come to these conclusions and think they're making a statement. It just doesn't even make any sense. And one thing I wanted to say this morning, when that brother was live, I wanted to catch him live. As I said, he didn't drop the link for me to go up again. So, and me being so technologically advanced, as it were, I accidentally dropped myself off and lost the link because it was so far up in the thread I couldn't get to it. And he made sure he didn't drop it again. But if he's watching or any of his flying monkey harpy subs come through, the reason being, one of the reasons why he didn't want me to come up on the panel, in my opinion, is because I'm female. Because as you can see, my name, well, you can't see it now, but it actually said Lady A instead of one of these other weird ones like Trolling McTrolling. I don't know. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. I'm lying. There's no right side. And so he was live. I saw it. I clicked the link. It is what it is. But this time I actually have a name that suggests I'm female. And he can't use the whole I didn't know you was female anymore. It's like anytime somebody is critical of females online, it's automatically assumed that this must be a misogynistic, hating black man. That's why he said to me, well, if you want to come up and discuss like a man, man to man when I go live. So seeing that the name is Lady A, he realized, oh, because these guys who are part of that echo chamber, whether it's female or male, they understand that black women only want to take instructions from other black women. Black women will override logic from a man to listen to foolishness from another female. This is why so many black women are derailed, because they spend more time listening to women than men or other people trying to give them a different point of view. Dimitri said, you're speaking facts, though, about the principle of divestment. If you want to see a truly divested black woman, look up Cara D. That's what it looks like. I'm going to, I'll check it out later. And there was somebody else who said we should check out their video. And maybe we'll have to do that soon as well. But V-Dub Boogie says, Cara's not divested. What do you know that we do not, V-Dub? So I remember seeing on one post that called Emmett Till a sexual predator, basically justifying being lynched. I mean, it's just terrible. I mean, the things that the women say, they're so full of hatred, it's ridiculous. That's not what I gathered. Oh, forgot a little back and forth. Dating. So V-Dub says dating white doesn't mean you're divested. You see, and that's the difference between an interracial dater and a swirler. The interracial daters, you don't even know their partners of a different race until they mention it, or they come to some kind of function and they bring their partner, or maybe they have biracial children. But it's not something like a badge of honor that they have to parade it around. And it's not a statement. Whereas when you have the swirlers and the divestors, more of, in my opinion, what is the dating out is to do with rubbing it in a black man's face that the same men that you claim are defeating you are the ones you've decided to run to for support and marriage. So that's, to me, that's completely weird. What you see now is what they want you to see. But none of them are divested. They're just a hate group who speak ill of black men. I matter their what? I'm not sure. Matter their level. I'm not sure about that last bit there. You're right. It was the thing she was saying about both black men and women on her KDTV2 channel. Okay. They literally say a bread at Walmart is better than a high-value black man. And the thing about it is this. The reason why they say that is because, and this is what I was trying to say to this brother, for you guys it would have been last night, but for me it was this morning, is that when it comes on to these ladies, one of the issues is they have hatred for black men, period. It doesn't matter if you're successful, if you're kind, they have some either daddy issues or there's some kind of trauma in there. And as a result, when they see a black man, they are just angry. And it doesn't matter how good of a black man you are. There's just something in them that can't respect the black man. I think it's generational, and part of it, and this is why I say about, shout out to the lady who, I'm assuming it's the lady who put the comment, but then they're defending Crystalline, so I'm assuming it's the lady. That these women are shooting themselves in the foot. The reason why these women have these abandonment issues and these issues with men is because they grew up in households with no strong fathers. But that's not the man's fault. And the reason why I say it's not the man's fault is because that's the man the mother chose. If you choose a man who's not ready to be a father, producing a child is not going to give him, this is not the Matrix where you get the guy to type in the keyboard and all of a sudden an armory of masculinity and fatherhood appears, like when the guns appeared. For anybody who remembers the first Matrix movie, it's like, we need weapons, and it's like tick, 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 and then all of a sudden you've got a room full of guns. Masculinity is not like a download. It has to be cultivated like femininity. And these women try to use these mind tricks. I mean, and this is why I say it's an echo chamber when you hear these women talking about men should be providers and protectors, and if you're a man and if you're a leader. Well, you can't be a leader to a group of people who don't want to follow. Only fish is divested from his sanity. The lady is so hateful. It's like, golly, what are you trying to prove? I don't know. I don't know if I've heard of this person before, but yeah, it's crazy. Hey, Kazama Fury in the building. It's cognitive dissonance. Black women think they're above black men, But when a Chad Weir strikes, black men do it too. Or they claim black men don't protect them after all that disrespect. I mean, this is the thing. It's strange to want black men to come and protect you. My thing, the protection argument is weird and strange because, with all due respect, and this is not me trying to be funny, right now somebody's being abused. And I don't know what anybody wants anyone to do about that, apart from set up some type of support group. But unless you've got some psychic powers or some Superman powers, there really isn't anything as a random person you can do to stop the abuse unless you're going to petition or support with your finances. But oh God, it frightened me. But right now there really is nothing you can do. And so it behooves the woman to pick the kind of man that's going to actually to help her out and be a decent helpmeet. And what the guys who, the men who support these channels and things like that don't understand is the women don't want what's in their best interest. They only say that because it looks good on paper, but deep down they don't really want it. Because if they really wanted solid guys, they wouldn't pick the guys that they pick. I don't understand why these men are lying to themselves. Maybe they have cognitive dissonance as well. They can't believe that these women really don't want decent quality men. They actually want, they're addicted to the drama and the struggle because that's what they were raised in. And then you're raised without a father. You're raised without a father, and then afterwards you have all these abusive and negative experiences that reinforces the narrative that your mother tells you about men. And this is why you have these 22-year-olds coming up shouting about what Kevin Samuels says and what he's doing and yada, yada, yada. And it's because they were groomed from childhood to perceive black men a certain type of way. And you can't work with that mentality. That's why so many black women have to whatever, do it all or be alone, or I don't even know what the word was that the lady used. She's got to take on the masculine role. You weren't masculinized because you were let down by your boyfriend. You were masculinized by your mother who wanted to keep you as a husband. She needed that money and she needed that support. Hey, lovely, good mother. We're talking about mothers. And she's got a couple of great videos. She's got a lot of good videos, but what attracted me to her channel was some Kevin Samuels reviews. Another anti-feminist lady making great content talking about how modern women have basically shipwrecked themselves. So check her out. Maybe I'll put a link to one of or two of her videos in the description so you guys can check it out later. Good to see you. I know it's about 11 o'clock. I think if you're on the East Coast, 9 if you're on the West. Shout out to everybody. And shout out to everyone. It's 6 p.m. in Q8. That's Kim. So yeah, so this lady, we're going to a quick comment. So Crystalline is giving black women a different perspective. The different perspective that black women need is to submit, to cooperate, to calm down and chill out, to stop being so sexual, to start thinking about the things that will make your relationship successful. That's what's actually going to secure you a good man, not being open to dating white men with this narrative that somehow you're beholden to black men with Stockholm syndrome. Again, most people date within their race because they want familiarity and because of proximity. So Crystalline telling black women to think about being open to dating other races of men is only like a third of the issue. You still have to be what those men want. And you still have to be in proximity to them for them to want to date you. And then you've got the issue of the vast majority of people of other races stick together. So are there enough non-black men to date black women who want to date out? And the answer is no. So it's like being open to a different perspective is like me being open to spending a meal when I haven't got a meal. It's like, why? Okay, I'm open, now what? I still can't walk into a shop and say, I'm open to spending £1 million I don't have, give me goods. It's like, I don't, people think stating this statement means something, and it only means like a fraction of the job, because you still have to be desired by the men you're trying to attract. Okay, so then she's like, this shows you know nothing about what she talks about. What I know that she talks about is she's like, I want to talk about, no wedding, no womb. But actually, I spend more time talking about how much it's great to date white men. That's what she talks about. Okay, that's what she's proud of. Her book on swirling. You know, so and that white men won't be dumping white women in droves the way they fantasize about it. That's what it is. It's people stick to what they know. People are comfortable because there's a cultural similarity. And you can highlight, examples of, white people talking about how much they desire black people, or Asian people talking about how much they desire white people, or black people talking about how much they desire white people. But the vast majority of any group is just sticking with their own group. But my issue is not that. My issue is the fact that you extol the virtues of other groups so highly, and then afterwards you do not talk, and then you talk so badly about your own group. That's where the disconnect comes in, because you can say, oh, she only opens you up to other options. But as I said before, if we had to choose, I'm like, do you want Pizza Hut or Domino's? But before you choose, let me just tell you, the last time I had Domino's, I had to live on the toilet for a week. So which one do you want? It's like, only a psychopath is going to be like, let's play Russian roulette with our intestines and pick Domino's. It's like, why would people do that? It just doesn't make any sense. They want to act like the majority of black men are killing or hurting them, but then they'd be like, we got to speak on the majority. Yeah, the majority is, I think, I'm not even sure, because I know domestic violence and things like that can be two ways. Okay, but at the end of the day, women are going to more likely report that they've been abused. And it's not clear, was that man acting in self-defense or retaliating to her who was the original aggressor? You see, so it's crazy. But then that's what I'm saying. This is why they're disingenuous, because they pick very isolated stories that are sensational, and then they try to hold these up as proof that this is what all black men are like. Or in anything, because Good Mother can testify, because she's I'm not sure if you're from Canada or the States, but Good Mother is not black, but she's anti-feminist because she understands how feminism has destroyed the family. You see, men don't seem to have the ability to defend themselves, and it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If you retaliate, they'll say you should never hit a woman. But if that woman is knocking 7 bells out of you, I mean, I think there was an incident recently where a woman poured boiling water on her boyfriend. We had a video, but I think these were black. The woman, ran over her boyfriend, ripped off the bumper from the car, and began hitting him while he's on the floor. Like, aggression is two ways. But if that man ever retaliated or knocked her out or something, he would still be seen as the one doing the wrong thing, even though it's self-defense. So there's a huge double standard that means that men are not protected even when they have to protect themselves. And it's because of power. Power corrupts, and women don't really handle power very well. They don't want to speak about the majority because that breaks down the narrative. You see, if they really want, again, I don't have an issue with calling men out or black men. Over here we're talking mainly about black relationships. But in general, there's nothing wrong with calling out the men, but at least let your statistics be fair and balanced. Don't just highlight the statistics that make the man look bad, but then you don't talk about the other side of the story where the woman is actually the perpetrator or the accomplice, you know. And, we were talking earlier about that case with the little boy and the being bludgeoned by the mother's boyfriend. And I forgot to mention that in that situation, all the mother had to do was a Google search. That man already had charges, I think, for battery or some GBH or something, aggravated assault, and also sexual assault or sexual assault of a minor. And it was so bad, all you had to do was Google his name. And it would have come up that this was a man who had a string of charges that were, related to violence and sexual violence. Okay, but you have women out here who are crying and complaining, and I get it, it's sad and it's terrible, but at the same time, that's the predator you bring in your house. If you are, bringing partners around your children, but I think more time than not, you're going to have, I don't think a woman is going to be as likely to try to groom a man's child if he's the custodian as if it's a woman with a man. Because I think she knows, like, if I touch these kids, he'll probably kill me. So, but a man knows that even if he was to attempt to assault one of her kids, she couldn't really do much. He probably wouldn't do anything. Okay, but it's as simple as a Google search or going to the sex offenders register and checking this guy out. But, and I don't want to sound like I'm bagging on single moms, but it's that thought process why unmarried women are often, looked down upon, because there's a lack of forethought in your action, and that child is really just the byproduct of that string of choices. And the same process why you ended up having children but the father's not there, that's also the mentality that you approach other types of situations. And then you're bringing, I always say, like, if the statistic about 80% of black girls have been abused by the age of 18 or whatever, 1 in 4 or whatever it was. I mean, it was deemed bogus anyway. I think it was bogus. It wasn't a true study. It was like a survey at a school or something. But even if we want to say it's true, these are minors under the care of adults. So where were the adults when this abuse was taking place? That's the question I'm always asking. Because if you're a minor, where were your parents? We're violent and uneducated, but when she gets attacked, she wants those tendencies for protection. What black man, common sense, wants to be entangled with that? Exactly. Protecting black women is also about protecting yourself from silly situations. It's about taking advice so that you don't get into certain situations. And the way black women can protect black men is trying not to get in situations where you need to put a man at risk in order to rescue you from your own bad choices. So Good Mother said, we have a circular problem. Oh, sorry, we have a cultural problem of irresponsible mothering due to this feminist movement, the university indoctrination, and the media. Exactly. It's to dumb people down. It's to dumb people down, because the more dysfunctional people are, the easier they are to control. It's easier to impress upon them to take drugs, to engage in reckless behavior. And, if you corrupt the women, those women will automatically corrupt their own children, because what they deem to be acceptable behavior, that's what they're going to tell their kids to do. That's what they're going to permit for their children to do. So the children don't stand a chance because they're born into dysfunction. And as we talked about in the last video, dysfunction is a huge money spinner, whether you have people taking legal or illegal drugs, whether they're, getting, into sexual trouble, producing children that they can't care for, or whatever, it generates a lot of income. It generates a lot of income from the state, and it dumbs everybody down, which makes them much easier to control. It seems as if with divestors, Miss Anne is Anne Rand. I'm not sure who that is, Manu. Did you see the video of the black women? Yeah, we were just talking about it. Black woman pouring hot water, scalding hot water on her boyfriend. Domestic violence is a two-way street, but the black women and the black men laugh at that nonsense. Yeah, exactly. You know, the first thing is, oh, he must have done something to deserve it. It's crazy. I'm from Washington State. I grew up in a white government dependent community. Women married to the government screw up every culture. Facts. I mean, this is a white lady saying it, guys. So we know it doesn't matter the color of the skin. It's a mentality that leads to the dysfunction. And I've said before, government assistance is not the baddie here. But the problem is this: it breeds a culture of laziness. You know, I remember years ago people telling me straight, like, when I realized that my child benefits were going to run out, I just had another kid. And back then it was like, I think you could get child benefit and you didn't have to work until the youngest was 16. So if you've got a child that's 10, 12, and you have another child, that's another 16 years you add to the clock where you don't have to work. You just claim, you know, subsidized housing benefit, and you spend all day as a lady of leisure just pumping out kids. So it's a mentality. It's not really about, it's not race specific, but there are other factors in there as well. But it's a cultural mindset. Absolute power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Exactly. And women have almost absolute power to the point where you have men out here defending women's reckless behavior. It's just, Mario, shout out to you, fam. We have an epidemic of irresponsible mothering, for sure. I have a 16-year-old son from my failed marriage, and I've been single for the majority of it. It can be done. It can be done responsibly, but you have to. Yeah, it's true. Put the child first, of course, because men are out here complaining about single mothers, and they're complaining about childless women. So the issue isn't just the presence of the child, because you have single mothers who actually have their stuff together more than single childless women. Like, I mean, would you pick, there's certain single mothers, or there's Meg the Stallion? I know which one I'd pick if I had to choose between the two women, but that's what it is. But you have to have that mentality of what's in the best interest of the child. And because they're dumbing us down and they want this culture of perpetual childhood, this is one of the reasons why you have a lot of issues with narcissism. You have a lot of abuse, because you want to overly mature the children, but then you want to make the adults regress. And that's where you're getting a lot of this selfish behavior and destructive behavior, because you're going to link me to the KKK? What, the colorism crying crew? But yeah, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. There's a dumbing down of adults that's making adult people want to regress back to childhood, and that just fosters a lot of irresponsible behavior. Okay, so it says you don't know anything about what she talks about. She mostly agrees with Kevin Samuels, except how harsh she is to women, which is understandable. At the end of the day, you've had a lot of years, decades of men being nice to you and telling you what you want to hear and being kind and being gentle, and it hasn't worked. These women are still out of control. They're still doing the wrong things. So his approach, he's not rude to women. He's just direct. But because we have a system that wants to filter and censor any man's expression, just him being honest is seen as disrespect. But the reason why women say, oh, he's disrespectful, is because they can't filter him, they can't censor him. So yeah, that was the comment that I wanted to get through. I thought it was worse than that, but it wasn't that bad, actually. You know, she just wanted to say, you know, I want to defend Crystalline and let you know that you don't know anything about Crystalline. She's actually helping Black women. But at the same time, these women are constantly fostering an attitude of disrespect towards Black men. And if the vast majority of people are with their own race, Why would you sow seeds of hate against the one group that you can guarantee is actually going to want you? That's why you have so many women. And to the person who to left that comment, I just want you to know, if you're listening or if you catch this and you come back or whatever, that these women don't really care about women. The channels that they have, and you know who they are, what they want is to vent about their own personal frustrations and daddy issues. I'm not going to name the names, you know who they are. Some of them, their fathers abandoned them. Some of them, their fathers were strung out on drugs. Their fathers were into all sorts of things. And that's why they come to social media and they get with other women who have the same mentality, and then they vent and then they exploit you for money because you feel bad that you're in the same category. Let me put it like that. You perceive yourself to be in the same category because some of the women who go on these websites and join these YouTube channels or whatever, they didn't even have the experience of the person who has the channel. They come from two-parent homes. They come from homes where the men, you know, have shown them love and protection, where their fathers have told them the right thing. But for some reason, they want to take up this cross, and then they knock themselves out of the game. I've met many women cared for by the system, multiple kids, expecting me to take them away from that life of single-handedly. Realistically, I can't match what the government does for them financially. To be honest with you, you're probably bringing more to the table than the government. You're bringing more to the table than the government. But the thing about it is this: they don't have to really answer to the government in any real way. You know, you don't have to cook for the government. You don't have to clean for the government. You just have to show that, you know, you haven't got someone living in your house and you're taking care of the subsidized housing or whatever. And that's it. Other than that, you're free, creaming off the benefits of a husband, you know, in terms of the state. And I'm not against government assistance. If you need it, use it. But it's not supposed to be there for forever and ever. Amen. And you're just producing. And again, the thing about it is this: if you were on government assistance and with all that free time and free money, you was enriching the lives of your kids, it wouldn't be a big deal because those children are still getting education. They're still being enriched. They're still, you know, having the mindset to work instilled in them. And you can say, for whatever reason, I don't know, make up the excuse or whatever, I don't work, but you are what I want to see thrive. If you had that mentality as a single mom on welfare, a lot of people wouldn't have an issue with the welfare system because productive children would be coming out of those homes. But it's like you're not working, you're not studying, and you're also not using the time and energy and funds that you get to make the children better. The point of the assistance was to enrich the lives of the children. If you don't have the husband or a father in the home, you use those funds and that time to benefit those kids. That's what the assistance was there for. So it's like, that's what's expected of a lot of us. And it's good that men are pushing back, because as much as it's very harsh for women with kids, at the same time, it's going to make more women think twice about actually getting caught up in that lifestyle of thinking, I can just, you know, have a child, I can go be Sierra, have a baby for future, and then go look for a Russell Wilson. A lot of women won't call out other women because they want those trump cards of dysfunction. They use plausible deniability to make themselves sound holier than thou, but they're like Aisha Curry. You see, Aisha Curry, right? Aisha Curry went too hard talking about women being naked because she knows deep down that's what she wants to do. She should have just got her sexy on, but just kept it classy. Then she wouldn't have looked like a hypocrite. But again, I'm glad you brought up Aisha Curry, right? Because the Aisha Curry situation is this, that she actually she's being used. Yes, she was used as a poster child. Shout out to Mediocre Tutorials. Yes, she was a poster child for the good wife, the doting wife and mother, the young couple who's got it all together, beautiful young couple. But this is a part of the whole, we're going to take a good girl and turn her bad. because that's how you lead the masses astray. There's certain people that wouldn't gravitate towards Aisha if Aisha had just come out of the gate looking like a Meg Thee Stallion or Cardi B. But when she can kind of get that group around her that are more conservative, now she can start ramping up the sexy. And that's how you get them in. Disney does it all the time. You had Hannah Montana looking like butter wouldn't melt. The next minute she's naked on top of a wrecking ball. All of those fans that grew with her, they still follow her. So when she switched, they switch. And that's a very common Disney technique to corrupt young girls. Good mother said, we need more women being harsh to women. Facts over feelings. All right, love. Just wanted to say hi. Thanks so much for stopping by, girl. Appreciate you. Yeah. The thing about it is this. When it comes to this particular sector of YouTube, what has kept men and women apart is the fact that you have women against men. The last thing that these people want online is women on the men's side. Because, as I said before, is this message still here? The message has disappeared, or maybe she changed the wording. What was I saying? I'm looking at a message, but it's gone. They refuse to deal with the misogynoir. He refuses to deal with real. I don't know if I can find that message, but yeah. What was I saying? So Aisha Curry, she is the good girl that went bad because there's a certain audience that will follow her as the good girl. And this is how she will be used to indoctrinate those quote unquote good women to gradually go down that road. Because I don't know what kind of fan base Aisha Curry has. I would imagine it's late 20s, early 30s because they can relate to her because of her age. And so those women are the ones that she's going to appeal to in terms of, I don't know, in terms of how she carries herself. I think this person deleted the comment and changed the wording up because I can't find it now. But he says this person said that Kevin Samuels refuses to address the misogynoir. I mean, I wouldn't say that there is misogynoir. There is some, but it's not. What black men are saying about black women is not about hate. It's about calling black women out on the fact that they don't do the right things. It's that simple. And the reason why it's so intense is because black men or black males come out of black women. All men come out of women. Well, for now. Because you've got some things in the pipeline. Aisha was very insecure when beautiful women are around Steph. She's insecure because she wanted to have that career, but it never quite panned out. And so, as a result of that, she I don't want to use the term she hit the wall, but that's what it is. She's got to the age where she realized she can't attract the caliber of men that she could maybe 10 years ago. And when she got with Steph was looking a little bit geeky and things like that. And she was the pretty one. And now he's coming in, I don't want to say coming into his features, but I feel like as he's got older, he's aged and he looks better. He looks more manly. And obviously he's more successful. So now obviously the attention is on him. His career is still climbing, whereas her career flatlined. So there's a little bit of jealousy. There's a little bit of competition in there. And she's realizing, oh, my husband could actually attract younger females because they're literally pouncing in our car and things like that. So, that's what it is. And this is what a lot of the women just don't want to tell other women. Going back to the comment, women getting married early, settling down early. It's important that women do tell other women settle down early. You don't have your whole life to look for a partner, because every day, you know, with all due respect, other women are becoming legal. And men, a lot of men, they don't want to deal with what, our grandparents' generation, not mine personally, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know my grandparents, but that's neither here nor there. But that's what it is. You know, they don't want to deal with it. There's no there's no benefit for sometimes, especially with the legal system being what it is. From a Christian perspective, you should get married if you want to be sexually active, because promiscuity is obviously negative. But from the perspective of, is it worth it? Unless you're spiritually minded, it's going to be tough to convince more and more people that it's worth it. And it's like chivalry is dead. Women are the ones who killed it. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to say. I wanted to just address that comment because the comment is gone for a start. But I appreciate the person stopping by and giving their thoughts. Um, it is what it is. You're not going to have a community unless you have women who want to cooperate, and you're not going to have a functioning society without women who are willing to follow the leadership of men. And it's black men are not asking for submission. They're just looking for cooperation. They're looking for women who are not going to be combative at every turn. What's everybody saying? Can't come up this time. You got to conserve the electricity. Stupid snow. I understand. It's cool. Steph first met his wife in church growing up. Don't trust those church girls till they leave their parents' house. It's true. It's true. Leave their parents' house when they're not in their parents' presence. Outside of church, it is what it is, man. I hear that. What should we do? I'm gonna play a little bit of music. I'm gonna put on a different song and just chill for 5 seconds. I don't know if anybody's got anything they want to say. Everybody's busy. I understand it's like 10 to 11. So I can imagine everybody's at work. There's a lot of live streams going on right Yeah, this morning I was like on a hype, man, so it's gonna chill now. You see, the mad brain's gone and the calm brain's come, so now I'm just chilling, you get me? Oh, poor me. There's not two personalities in here, there's just one that's a mess. Shout out to Kazama Fury, he made a good comment. He said, I've had a friend whose mother had a loose reputation in which embarrassed her, but instead of being better, she used her mum's dysfunction to justify hers. Both have 3 kids, 2 men, no rings. And I'm not going to play the video because I haven't asked for permission, and I understand why. You know, Kevin's putting in that work, and he wants people to at least ask if they want to use his content, which is fair enough. But many of us, we watch his show. I know Good Mother, that's one of the reasons why we connected. This lady was talking to Kevin, was it yesterday or the day before, and she started talking about her experiences growing up with a mother who was addicted to drugs. She didn't say what kind of drugs. She said she saw her mother using a pipe, so I'm assuming it's, you know, crack. Yeah, smoking rocks or something. And then she didn't see her injecting, so it's probably not heroin, but it could have been snorting coke or something, whatever. And it's like, yeah, sometimes it becomes an excuse, but sometimes it really is just a case of you live what you learn and you copy what you see. And who knows what occurred in that situation. So again, we're going back to this concept of, you know, you can complain about black men all day being whatever you want to call them, but they come from these dysfunctional environments. You know, so I wanted to touch on that again. So I'm glad you brought it up. Why is this thing? No. Okay. The concept of the aces. Why is it doing that? Let's see if I can get this one. You don't want to do it, huh? Okay. Just embarrass me. It's fine. Oh my gosh. We talked about this before. The relationship between the way you're raised and how you're likely to turn out. Let me see if I can find a better picture. Bear with me, guys. See. This thing don't want to do it. See? Why are you being difficult for? Just give me what I want. So I'm trying to find a nice picture for you guys that's really clear. Let's see. Okay, let's do this one. Stop the screen now. I started the screen. Help me know which one I want to open. Let's hit the quiz. No. Really annoying me now. Alright, let's pick this one so you guys can have an idea. I think it's this one. Let's see. Okay, so ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, are broken down into 3 categories. We talked about this so many times, but this is a perfect example of the ACEs. This Kevin Samuels video with the lady. But I feel like it's frozen. Oh, here we go. Much better. So broken down into 3 categories: abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction. So she obviously, I'll take it that this lady was living with a single mother. The lady in Kevin Samuels' video, she witnessed substance abuse. Mother maybe was in all kinds of situations, mentally unstable. There's probably some type of emotional or physical neglect. Maybe not, she didn't mention abuse, but there was definitely an issue with, if the mother's on drugs, probably codependency, because the mother's not able to take care of herself and other children. So the daughter now has to become the parent of her own parent. And studies have shown that if the more of these adversities, there's 10 bubbles, the more you have, the less likely you are to thrive. And so this lady, as much as she wasn't necessarily a bad person, the fact that she was raised in an environment which was such a bad hand, that's what has caused her to be in the situation that she's in. And so there is systemic racism that adds to the stress. You've got poverty, which is obviously going to increase the amount of neglect, either physical or emotional neglect you experience. And again, you've got, here it says divorce, but some of them are a bit better. They talk about just parental separation, maybe parental alienation. So that's the single parenthood situation. Fathers not in the home, mothers who are not able to perform. You see, I take responsibility for my actions, but you can't be angry when your kids are a chip off the old block. Good words without good deeds are just noise. And that's the thing. Children are going to emulate what they see their parents doing more than what they are told to do. And so the easiest way to raise a kid is just to set the example. But in this community, we have a don't do as I do as I say mentality, and it doesn't work, because once children reach maybe about 8 or 9 or something, they're going to start to rebel, because they're able to understand, oh, you're being a bit hypocritical, you see. So that's a problem. So so sometimes it does become an excuse, but the more you go through these types of situations, the more you are likely to go on to replicate that same dysfunctional behavior in your own life. And that's why people like Kevin are needed, for his YouTube channel. That's the only aspects I'm focused on, because this is a real world situation. The abuse, the neglect, and the dysfunction is why the Black community in particular is spreading to all communities, but that's why the Black community is in such a bad way, because we have a culture that glorifies drug use, calls, having alternate personalities, cute and funny, high rates of out of wedlock pregnancies and birth, and then just a lack of understanding of what the parental role is. And when you don't have older women guiding the younger women to tell them this is your priority now, it leads to children born and raised in this kind of environment who then go on to perpetrate the same kind of dysfunction in their own life. They start out being victimized, but then they go on to become, self-victimizers. They originally were abused, but they either go on to seek out abusers or they become abusers. And so as long as people are not talking about it in this context of, it's not about saying you're this or you're that, you're bad, or, we've just got an attitude with your attitude or whatever, or it's weave or this. It's about understanding how this has long-term ramifications, you see. So, I'm glad you brought that point up, because I wanted to touch on that video. Our culture has swept mental health issues under the rug for a long time. The huge stigma of being ill. I told you, I knew a guy and he was going through some stuff, and I said, I think you need therapy. And he's like, what? You think I need therapy? He was shocked that as maybe a Black person, I would suggest to him go to therapy. It's like, yeah, I don't think you're weird or bad or cuckoo or, they need to pump you with some drugs. Maybe you just need to speak to somebody. But maybe no other Black person had ever said to him, I think you could really benefit from therapy, because with all due respect, you're like 40, but you're still telling me about things that happened to you when you were like 12, 15. And I'm not qualified to help you, and I can't deal with that. And you clearly are not over whatever happened. and you're carrying it into all of your future relationships, this burden and this insecurity. And that's why you're attracting the kind of people you attract. That's why you're getting into the situations you're in, while you're medicating with weed and running away from things by getting busy, but you're not addressing the root of your actual problems. So again, I'm really happy that Kevin is making therapy. Just in case you didn't know, he promotes therapy. As you enter through the cool doorway, are you in therapy? No. What are you waiting for? Okay. It's like, and that's a good thing, because there is a lot of undiagnosed. Shout out to George Macon. He used to say there's a lot of PTSD out here, and I was like, I thought that was something really only soldiers had. But then when I came to understand that you can have post-traumatic stress from any traumatic experience, then it definitely means that there is a lot of PTSD in the Black community, and a lot of low-level depression, a lot of hopelessness that's causing a lot of this cycle of poverty. And the women they're not taking responsibility for that, because this is adverse childhood experiences. It's talking about what happens to you in the first 18, 16 years. And I mean, there are some developmental milestones that you hit at 2 years old. If you miss it, that's it. That's pretty much it. We're not saying that you can't recover, but you're not going to thrive in that area the way you would have had you been enriched at that age. So when you understand that, then it's gonna change the way you perceive parenting and things like that. And that's not what's happening in a lot of these femininity level up groups. And you can't blame them. You can't blame them. You can't knock the hustle, because guess what? The women don't want that information. They don't want to talk about parenting and motherhood and how their actions impact other people. They want to talk about $30 wigs and the latest dance craze. They want to talk about things like that. So you can't blame them for capitalizing on an opportunity to make money off of people who don't want to hear that information. And that's the thing, Chrissy and them lot, they'll get a lot of pushback from women, which makes me laugh. I don't want to agree, but I've got no choice, because I want this image. I want your image, give it to me. Chrysalin doesn't talk about motherhood and no wedding, no womb, because women in her group attacked her. That's why. And instead of standing on her square and saying, I'd rather have a handful of subs who are getting something good out of this, and I'm going to work with the handful of women who want to be helped, she jumped on the Let's Bash Black Men bandwagon. And now her numbers are growing. The numbers are growing. Oh. Am I still live? I don't know. I wanted to open a thing, but I think I've just closed it. Oh, here we go. Her numbers are still growing. George Macon, why you make that face? Cichlid, why you make that face? Why you do that? Yeah, he's got some good points. I really was like, oh, he's focusing too much on that PTSD, but he's right. I have to eat my hat and eat that humble pie. He's correct. The Black community is in a state of PTSD, and the reason is because you have a lot of shaming or insecurity about the idea of going to therapy. He's right. PTSD isn't just something that soldiers suffer from. PTSD can be any trauma. And when you look at those 10 criteria, abuse, neglect, and environmental factors, how many Black people can say they've already they've experienced 2, 3, or 4 more of those things? A lot of Black people have. You see, he's B1. Is that he's not in cahoots with Taz, is he? I'm gonna have to retract my statement and edit that bit out. Okay, so the mechanisms by which adverse childhood experiences basically kill you early, I think that's what it's going to say, influence health and well-being throughout your lifespan. So this is why I have an issue with people talking about, the psychology of the dusties and things like that and all kind of rubbish like this, because they don't talk about how the way you're raised can impact the entirety of your life. So the fewer aces you have. Okay, so you've got generational embodiment, which is historical trauma. So that's like culture, maybe in your DNA. Then you've got social conditioning. That's your media. And then the media and the way you're raised and socialized impacts the environment in which you bring your children into. Starting at the bottom, and then we're going up, yeah? Now, after you've put the children through what is known as toxic stress, the children are in a constant state of fight or flight. But because they don't have the reasoning ability to process and rationalize what's happening in their environment, their body gets flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, which builds up the toxicity of the body. And as a result, the next one up is a stunted development of the brain. When the child is under constant stress, it actually stops the neurons of the brain growing. And the smaller the child, the more rapidly they're growing. So when the child is going through stress at a young age, they found that the brain is smaller because the brain cells are so under stress that they're dying, they're not expanding, they're not multiplying the way they should. And if the child is not being stimulated, the brain is not growing, because we know that the brain is neuroplastic. The more you learn and enrich and stimulate the brain, the more the neurons are going to grow, the brain cells, whatever you want to call them, and that's going to cause the brain to be healthy. And there's also other structural defects that mean that the child is going to be more prone to depression, things like serotonin receptors. We know serotonin is the happy hormone. If the receptors are damaged, the hormone cannot bind, which means that person is more prone to depression. So then as a result of, damage to the development of the physical structure of the brain, you then have emotional, social, and cognitive impairment, which is obviously going to lead to this adoption of unhealthy behavior, which is going to lead to disease and then premature death. So in the Black community, when you have not just the Black community in general, when you have traumatic childhoods, it leads to this. And then you have Black women saying, why are Black men out here killing themselves and killing each other? Well, it could be this. It could be this. Too many Black men are being raised in dysfunction. He's not in cahoots with Taz, is he? Oh, no, I have to retract my statement now. Boom. I can tell you, for quite some time, I was so angry at my mum for having no accountability and how my siblings thought she could do no wrong. But I decided to confront her and let it be that. And I don't blame you. I don't blame you, because she needs an opportunity to apologize. An apology doesn't fix everything, but it does start to repair the fence. But as long as there's no accountability, it's like that wound it can get healing if you decide to accept that she maybe doesn't have it in her to apologize. And I had the same kind of moment where it's like, after I confronted her about certain things in my childhood, I didn't get the apology. And I had to just chalk it up to, you can't really give me what you don't have, so I need to keep it moving. But yeah, it does go a long way to just acknowledge you failed. You failed. And it's like, and I had this conversation with somebody again, like, you can't just rag on your mom or whatever. She did the best she could, and whatever. And I said, yeah, maybe she did the best she could, and maybe she didn't mean to hurt me or whatever, or in general, mothers hurt their kids, but it still doesn't change the fact that it impacts that person's life for the rest of their life. The two are two mutually exclusive things. It doesn't matter that she didn't mean it, it still has an impact long term. It's good to see that she's changed. And this is what I'm saying. You lie to people, you tell them what they want to hear, you keep them in that comfortable state of delusion, but they're not better for it. Versus the Kevin Samuels approach, you're harsh on them, but when they go away and think about what you said, they realize you were right and they're messing up. Some of them, not all of them. At least your mother realized. My mother started to change, but I don't know. I don't know what to say. She started to change, but it's like where she needed to be on point, she still hasn't quite got there yet. Yeah, so you didn't get me this time, huh? So it is sad, and again, it's as a child, you're always going to be connected to your mother because you spent generally the first 2 years being completely dependent upon her. So there's always going to be that bond where it's like, I love you, but at the same time, I have issues with you. And that's probably part of the mental health issue as well. It's like you're the object of affection, but you're also the object of all my rage. You're also the object of my disappointment or whatever. And it's like, I love you, but at the same time, you're hurting me, kind of thing. Black women here don't apologize. You still mad? Is the closest. Oh, I hate that so much. If you want to see the red mist descend and me just go off, just because it's like you just don't hear me. That statement is so offensive because what you're saying is, I refuse to acknowledge what you're saying. I refuse to acknowledge your feelings. I refuse to acknowledge how my actions have negatively impacted you. I'm not interested. You should have got over it already. I never got that one, but I let distance make a statement. She changed nonetheless, but pride will not let her apologize. I hope she does. Stay in a child's place was a common expression, but now look at these kids. You can't tell them anything. They don't respect adults because they haven't been shown respect. They haven't had their boundaries respected. They haven't had their identity respected. And as much as there's a certain lady out here talking about narcissists and narcissistic mothers, there is something to be said of overbearing, overly controlling mothers and how detrimental it is to a child. Overbearing mothers coddling a child will cause a son to resent their own mother, because the child want to express their identity. They want to learn who they are, and then after you stifled their development as a person and as a separate individual from you, now you're sending them out into the world and they haven't got a clue who they are. I'm just picking the top one. Let's just pick something. What's this one? Did we go through this one before? Okay. I don't know why they picked these monkeys, but okay, whatever. So, I know that it's negative, but I don't know all the ins and outs. As I've said, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not a trained professional. Maybe I should go and be doing something. I can't be bothered with work, man. I hate work. But you didn't hear that from me, though. Oh my gosh. So what is overprotective parenting? As the word suggests, there's an immediate negative connotation. It implies protectiveness is exaggerated. Helicopter parenting. Provide constant surveillance, wanting to control their child's environment and actions as well as who they choose to spend their time with, being over-involved in the child's daily life and decisions, encouraging safety, independence, over autonomy and exploration, always knowing what's best for the child and emphasizing this on them at every occasion. So that's what you're saying. Stay in a child's place, know your place. I know better. You know, I brought you into this world. I can take you out. And then you wonder why you've got men who are not flourishing. So helicopter parenting, being overly controlling. And if you don't, and again, because women by nature do not push their kids out, then, you know, women by nature are afraid of a number of things. And that's why they're going to protect from a fear-based standpoint. But in order to thrive in the world, you've got to be a risk taker. You've got to be a person who's about exploring. So if you've been coddled and told, don't do that, don't do this, don't go there, don't touch that, don't talk to this person, it's like you enter the adult world full of fears. That you know, some of it is from a genuine place. Here it says they want to protect the child from harm or pain or unhappiness, but you need you need that resistance to build that resilience, you know. So having an overprotective parent can increase the chances of you having low self-esteem. I suppose it's because confidence is something that you gain through success. If your parents stop you from succeeding, you don't have confidence in yourself because you don't know what you're actually capable of. And if you haven't accomplished anything, you're going to feel like you're a failure. And obviously, if your parents are always telling you, here it says, showering you with attention and love, and then afterwards you go out into the real world and you're told you're not that great, that's going to be a little bit of a reality shock. The underlying message that overprotectiveness transfers to the child is that they are not really capable, competent, or good enough in order to manage their life themselves. So you stunt their autonomy. Remember yesterday the women were talking about men out here looking for mothers and women out here looking for fathers? Well, that's why. I brought you into this world, I can take you out. They're prone to anxiety and depression. I think there's a lot of depression in the Black community. I really do. Since it can actually reinforce anxiety in children, it has a major role in the development, maintenance, and exacerbation of children's anxiety, and is linked to higher occurrences of anxiety and depression in adult life. The parent is anxious, so they kind of pass on this fear. I heard that apart from loud noises and the fear of falling, every other fear is learned. So if the parent is afraid of everything to the point where they're wrapping you in this cotton wool, then of course as a child you're going to go into the world with anxiety because your parents are telling you everything is dangerous. Shame and doubt. When you grow up shielded and protected from all evil out there, the most decisions being made for you, and most decisions being made for you rather than by you, two things inevitably happen. You assume things must really be terrible, or you believe you probably can't manage anyway, otherwise why would your parents be so protective? It's kind of like the first one again. Approval seeking and people pleasing. That you grow up scrutinized. Again, overprotective could be coddling, but then you also have emasculation. This is where your parents want you to only They only love you when you perform. Other than that, there's no affection. They don't love you for who you are. They love you when you're doing what they want you to do. And as a result, you now become that's the way you become prey to the narcissist and all these emotional abusers, because you're so desperate for their approval. And then this one is, was that me? I don't know. Answers on a postcard. I don't know if you can see that, but it says here, risk-taking behavior. When you've grown up being shielded your whole life, it's kind of like being told for years, I'm never going to let you drive, and then somebody gives you the keys to a fast car. It's like, I might never get this experience again. And then it's like wrapping yourself around a tree kind of thing. It's like, if you don't gradually teach children to be autonomous from about maybe 2, 1.5, when they start walking or crawling or whatever, they are gonna finally see freedom like an open gate and bolt. It's like, and that's why these young kids, they're running into all kinds of dangers, because everything is so novel and so new. They're just, in Jamaica, they would say, never see, come see. You're so frightened. You're like, oh my God, I'm out, I'm free, I'm out, I'm free. It's like, I want to try this, I want to taste this, I want to go here, I want to do that. And it's like, you don't even have the skills to manage yourself. And before you know it, you're caught up in a wrong crowd. You're in a situation you can't get out of. And it's like, it's crazy. So risk-taking behaviors, because you've never had the chance to actually be autonomous, as soon as you get a taste of freedom, you're doing even risky things with it, because you don't know how to handle freedom, because you've never had the right to choose your own life. This period is usually intense and full of impulse, high-risk behavior, sometimes known as excessive sensation seeking. It can be anything from extreme sports, alcohol and drug abuse, wild partying, promiscuous sexual behavior, simply anything to compensate for the lack of freedom they experienced earlier on in life. And again, if you've got very controlling parents and things like that, that could also be why people are in a second childhood. They didn't get a childhood because they were so policed. And then they grow up and they're like, I'm finally free. I don't even want the commitment of a wife or a husband and kids, because I still haven't got my childhood out of my system. It all factors in. And then perfectionism probably goes back to, if you were born and, if you were raised in an environment where you were only really loved because you performed, or they're very critical of everything, you are going to grow up maybe being a perfectionist. Overprotective parents may often exhibit narcissistic tendencies towards their own children. They may reinforce that everything needs to be perfect all the time, or else punishment or affection withdrawal may follow. It's contingent upon their child's actions. So Black women don't understand, these are the factors that contribute to why you have men that look like this. There's certain attitudes that Black people have. It doesn't lead to healthy development. Fear-mongering is a common tactic overbearing parents use. And overbearing mothers will actually use that because they don't have the ability to physically scare you. They can't scare you and intimidate you with their physical presence, because they're generally smaller. Even if they're whooping you, after a while you realize it doesn't hurt anymore. So after the nagging stops and after the whooping becomes ineffective, that's when the beatings and abuse will start. Hitler's mother smothered him. I can imagine when she died, he lost all feelings for everyone else. Yeah, the umbilical cord was never cut. It was never cut. He was so connected to his mother, probably a huge part of him died when she did. And he never got over it because he had nothing else going on in his life. He just became like an angry person at the world. So yes, I'm really glad you brought that video up about with Kevin, the dysfunction, because that's a reality. people replicating the mistakes of their parents. And it's partly because their parents don't sit them down and tell them don't do what I did, but it's also because people live what they learn. The environment you raise them in affects who they become as adults. So with that being said, I'm gonna get out of here. I really appreciate everybody who came through. Cichlid, because I'm a fury, shout out to you. Who else was here? George, I saw him. Demetrius on Free Thought. Good Mom, shout out to you. Thanks for coming through. So for everybody who is going to catch this on the restream, Manu12, shout out to you. V-Dub Boogie. No, I can't remember all these names, bro. George Golden, always supporting the channel. Really appreciate you. Thanks for everything. If you're catching this on the restream, let me know what you think in the comment section. Share the video with somebody who needs to see it. Like and subscribe. And I catch you guys in the next one. Peace.